let's get into it. What do you got?
Okay, first one. Which returning player do you expect to make the biggest jump this season?
Oh, good God.
Oh, man. It's like one of those open-ended talk radio questions you get. Like, what were your big takeaways from the first day of spring?
No, we can do this. You can do it. I mean,
I'll go
come on,
Sam Sledge.
there's some candidates. Okay.
Just because I think he has got the inside track to be the starting center. And if he is that guy, then that kind of has a ripple effect across the entire offensive line. So a guy that, hasn't played to being the starting centerpiece of the offensive line, I call that a pretty significant jump.
I'll give you two. Is that all right if I say two?
Sure.
Keona Davis
Okay.
and Amari Sanders.
Ooh, Amari Sanders you're going with. You think he's going to win a corner job?
I think he's got a chance to, and I think he's going to make a physical gain on his body as far as size goes. And he's already made that gain.
Amari Sanders would start probably in your world opposite Sierra Wright.
Yeah, Sierra's locked in, and you talk about that corner position. Oh, they have to replace Tommy Hill. Well, they didn't have Tommy Hill for like 75% of the year last year.
There's probably about 7 guys that you could put in there right now.
Donovan Jones, Bly Hill, Amari Sanders,
Charles,
Mitchell from Idaho,
Jeremiah Charles.
Andrew Marshall.
Andrew Marshall.
Gosh, I got sippled there. I got
did.
I got sippled. Sipple was even like, who's Mitchell? Who is Mitchell?
Who the hell is Mitchell?
What are you talking about? Yeah, Mitchell. Okay. Oh, it's Marshall. I pulled a sipple on there.
Amari Sanders is a name. See, I'm thinking of like a guy more conventional, like McGahee. I think McGahee, what you want to see McGahee do is get about 8 sacks, right? Make that jump. You saw him against Ohio State. That looked real to me against Ohio State.
Strips on the ball, too.
He was around the ball a lot. They need him. Like, that's a jack. That jack position looks really good to me with McGahee and McCullough, right? Now, who's playing more? I don't know how they're going to divvy that up, but I love if the jacks are McGahee and McCullough, that looks like a position of strength.
All right, Abby, what's next?
Okay. How does Nebraska basketball compare in NIL and resources to the rest of the Big Ten?
I don't know. We'll see what happens with the rev share numbers and what is supplemented with NIL. This past year, they were probably bottom third.
Close to it.
Yeah, in that realm. I always assumed they were roughly about middle of the pack, but the more I hear, it sounds like bottom third is probably a little more accurate.
With whom? Iowa? Yeah,
Minnesota, Iowa, probably Northwestern too. So like for just comparative sakes, Nebraska was around, let's just say
2.5.
Yeah, between 2 and 2.5, somewhere in there. And then Minnesota, from what I've heard, was dead last at 1.1.
Yeah, you can't win.
So that kind of shows you where they stack up in that regard. Whereas like Indiana was like 6
million.
Yes,
Minnesota
and that's before the rev share era.
Minnesota fired Ben Johnson, but didn't really give him a chance.
No, if he could have had money to pay all of his guys from 2 years ago, they'd be in the NCAA tournament this year. They were good last year,
right?
But they had to give all their NIL to Dawson Garcia and basically give everybody else whatever was left. So yes, long story short, bottom third, Big Ten.
Robin, I think it just feels like there's a big rush to get everything spent before April 7th and the settlement goes through.
Yep.
And you hear a lot of talk that collectives, not everywhere, but a lot of places are shutting down. So they're just trying to drain the bank accounts and do it all before April 7th.
So some guys are going to get pretty rich, and then that money's not going to be their next go around, right?
We don't think, unless there's an antitrust situation where you can't. This clearinghouse thing sounds equal and great, but how do you legally do it?
Yeah, and it just sounds unwieldy. The amount of cases they would have to consider.
Like if somebody wants to pay you something for a duty, how can you tell them you're paying them too much?
The clearinghouse would have to have 100 people in it, and work around the clock. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, just the work that's going to be put in to say what's a legitimate NIL deal and what's not. Like, how do you even regulate that?
That's not an office.
If anything, it just opens it up for more cheating at a higher level of dollars.
Also, it's going to show how much money some of these deals are worth. Where I don't think people have an idea, but I think if everybody knew and the clearinghouse knew how much money some of these guys were getting, it'd floor people. And it's going to moving forward.
Robin knows,
all right, Abby, what do you got?
Okay. From the start of the Bill Callahan era to now, which assistant coach has made the biggest impact on Nebraska football and why? This person said it could be positive or negative.
I'd put John Blake in that discussion because he brought in Dominican Sue here. Probably the greatest player of the post-title era.
We're talking about a recruiter. He was a good coach, though.
Oh,
good deal.
Are you talking about? Well, but yeah, he got Sue here. He single-handedly got Sue here,
right?
And that was that player arguably paved the way to raise Nebraska's stock enough to make it attractive enough to get Jim Delaney in the Big Ten to believe that Nebraska football was going to be back to the 90s status. So John Blake, rest in peace, getting Sue here. You can argue that recruit in those years, the 09 year, elevated the star high enough that the Big Ten's like, yep, we're buying Nebraska because we think this is the 90s Nebraska that we're buying.
Rob?
Well, that was going to be my answer. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of other guys that would, an assistant standpoint. And I'm not going to go like for the worst because that's just like trashing a guy after they're gone. I don't know. What do you think? Who comes to mind?
That had a very positive impact since the Callahan era. Could you say Tim Beck? The offenses they had. I mean, he was I would say an outstanding OC, right? Outstanding. They put together offenses that were underrated. We don't talk about them enough, probably, when they had those guys. I don't think, Robin, okay, I get the whole trashing thing, but I don't think it's wrong to say Kaz had a negative impact.
Yeah.
I loved him. I don't mind. I loved him. I love Kevin Kaz. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. He helped me a lot.
He wasn't built to coach against the offenses of the 07 Big 12. That's just really what it came down to.
You can create a soft landing spot for him in a legitimate way. And that's that. That wasn't his cup of tea to do that. He was put in kind of a bad position.
He came from the Big Ten, which had one spread offense, arguably.
Right.
Drew Brees and Penn State.
Yeah. Now, do you remember the Big 12 back then? What it was? It was spread offenses. And now he has to defend Texas Tech and all these weird spreads.
But it turned overnight. Like it kind of started, and then within another year, the whole league was the best offense in the country.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And he had to deal with that. I think Kaz was a good coach, but he was put in a really difficult situation. And I get what you say. I don't like saying that, but he did. Now listen, he kind of drug down the Callahan era.
Oh yeah. I mean, most people would agree that if Bill would have made a move at defensive coordinator and found someone more apt to defend Big 12 offenses, he'd still be here.
Yeah. I mean,
the offense was not a problem. The recruiting was not a problem.
No. They scored 52 points at Colorado and lost by 14 or whatever it was, right? Right?
Yes.
Is that about right?
They were so well prepared on offense. Like their opening scripts were amazing back then. I mean, they could score in any
offenses weren't a problem. So I'd say that, and I hate to say it, but it's sort of so blatantly obvious that it's okay.
In that vein, would Carl Pelini, I mean, I know it was Bo's defense, but Carl was a defensive coordinator, and talk about that transition to being able to stop Big 12 offenses. Nebraska found a pretty good formula.
That was all Bo, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was Bo's defense. That's the thing. Yeah.
I mean, Bo came in with
it was Bo's defense.
Okay. That plan where he developed the peso, the hybrid linebacker. I mean, nickel linebacker player, and they had the perfect players for that.
Right. Bo could coach defense. Now, was I out over my skis on Beck?
I don't think so.
No. Beck was I think he was sneaky good.
It's hard to sit here and praise a bunch of coaches that pretty much all got fired.
Yeah,
that's why I went to John Blake, because I do think getting Sue here literally
that's the answer.
Rose the star. Without the 09 season, could Nebraska really have gone to the negotiating table as hard as they did to get in the Big Ten?
No,
because all of that happened on the backdrop of 09. And then in 2010, they had another great year. And then they go in the Big Ten their first year in 2011, and they're picked to win the league.
I think you got the right guy. I'm going to keep selling Beck, though. I mean, look where Beck went after Nebraska. He kept going to mega powers. He went to Texas. He went to Ohio State. And now he's a head coach, at Coastal Carolina. So, I mean, he's really good. And he was really good. He was very highly thought of.
No, he was great coach. Even his last game, the bowl game against USC, they had
they put up. What did they put up?
a lot.
42? Was it 42? Did they get 42 in that game?
I think they ran 25, 30 plays in one quarter alone. I mean, they were
Rob,
just,
look up that score.
All
Me out.
Let's get to the.
I get hammered on the comments.
No, they put up a ton of yards, but we got to get to the final question.
I want to get to point total.
Oh,
Okay, we can circle back
go ahead.
around while he's
Circle back. Yeah,
researching.
let's get this.
Okay, final question. What is your least favorite major street or road in the city of Lincoln?
45-42.
Nailed it.
Nice. Nice.
It was the play total though. Like they put up so many plays. I mean, they were
Sean, I nailed the score. Give me some credit.
the Holiday Bowl.
Okay. Streets, Lincoln. Worst in Lincoln.
Go.
I'm not a
I got
fan of the 9th, 10th Street combination downtown. Just how you have to always figure out how to merge because like it's 5 lanes and if you're not from here, you're like, oh, I got 5 lanes to work with. Then you lose a lane. And then you get to the Rosa Parks Way thing and you got to,
Okay.
So just the bottleneck of 9th and 10th Street, which essentially is like an interstate in Lincoln.
Yeah, it goes from a highway to a neighborhood. And then they got cops positioned right when it drops to 35, just waiting to get you. Yeah, so I'm with you on that one. My vote goes to 14th and Old Cheney. It is the kind of one artery between Highway 77, South Lincoln, East Lincoln, and so basically any direction you want to go, and then going northbound, it goes to 1 lane. If you want to go straight, there's only 1 turn lane to get to 77. So the traffic, especially during peak morning and evening rush hour, is ridiculous. Like it will go on for a mile.
Ooh.
And God forbid there's a
The
power
left-hand,
light,
the left-hand
that's out, or
turn
a street light
to
that's
get
out.
to 77.
Yes. So it's a disaster most times, especially in high traffic times.
On the north end of town, I think the clear answer is Adams. Adams, like if you get off Cornhusker at 33rd and jump onto Adams, first of all, it's really rocky. It's a poorly, the pavement's poor. You always worry about your suspension. I mean, you got to worry about stuff like that. But plus, the traffic at certain times of day is just almost unbearable, and people are always driving way too fast. I mean, now I sound like an old man, but God,
That's the street where there's like a quick shop damn near in every block.
Yeah, kind of.
I feel like when you're on North Lincoln, there's like quick shops.
If you have
everywhere.
to turn off of Adams, it's really uncomfortable because inevitably you'll get some big guy in a big truck right on you. I mean, just right on you, So no, don't like Adams at all.
Yeah, Lincoln in general was not built to probably be a city of 300,000 people.
No,
doesn't seem like it.
No, the grid street structure does not work with this many people.
Right.
Abby,
But it is.
What's yours?
Ooh.
Yeah, what is it, Abby?
Um,
Get some road rage?
when I was in high school, I drove like on 70th like all day, like all the way down 70th. And once you get past like O Street, the road is like so poorly kept up, at least it used to be, that it was just like, so terrible. So many like potholes. And then like the further you get down to like Havelock, terrible. But Lincoln has a hard time keeping up with the pothole issues that we've got here.
I think a lot of cities do, though, right?
But we've got hardcore weather. Like it'll be
Right,
negative 20 and 120.
To go from
in
80 degrees
3
to a
months.
Well,
blizzard.
just think
in
about like
48 hours.
27th. Like it's technically maybe like one of the main streets of town, and it goes down to 1 lane, and like you like drive by the prestigious Lincoln Country Club on 27th Street, and you can get hit with a golf ball.
Right.
On like
Pretty
what would
wild.
be like one of the main streets,
Yep.
like the primary streets of the city.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. 100.
It's anyway a great off topic there.